When first thought, submit spirit to form matter. Our celestial humanity arrives, awakening from the dream, an inception of our reality. So we live, we love, and then there is music. So we dance, we sing, we pray, we reflect. In the infinite in between, the now that was, faces dance in our dreams. Some familiar, some
Ascended Visions Radio.
cosmic composition. In the irrelevance of this time, we realize the passion of the random action, learning the lesson that the brotherhood of man is far more important than the ego of any individual. Imagination becomes the sound of thought, traveling at the speed of art. So we paint on the canvas of our ephemeral encounters, a masterpiece of memory that lives in the eternity of a child's heart. Okay, now, you my sister, but everybody else don't know you, so tell us your name.
Evelyn Carroll.
And what number are you in the Cross family?
I'm the first.
Okay. Can you tell us some of your memories about growing up in the Cross family?
Okay, where you want me to start at?
In your childhood, some of the things that you remember that you had to do.
Oh, okay. I have a lot of memories. I remember I started playing the piano when I was about 5. I took piano lessons from the lady down on the corner, and she gave me lessons. She took me as far as she could take me, and then we stopped. I forgot how much lessons was. Wasn't back then. I'm 70 years old, so you can imagine how far back. But I think Mama paid something like, I don't know, I forgot what it was, but it was about nothing. And then Daddy lost his job, and had this beautiful piano when Daddy was working, and we had moved into a brand spanking new house. The house was brand new. It was built from the ground up. Our house on Beecher Street was built from the ground up, and Daddy was working 2 jobs. He had 2 factory jobs, and we had a house full of furniture. I can remember that. It was beautiful. And as little young as I was, it was beautiful, beautiful. Mom was so proud of the house, and they bought me a piano. They bought me a brand spanking new piano. I had a Wurlitzer, and at that time, I think Wurlitzer was one of the top brands, and that's why I was so proud of being able to play the piano. But things happened where Daddy lost both his jobs, and he had bought a brand new car too. We had brand new house full of furniture, brand new car. Brand spanking new car. And back in those days, when you lost stuff, when you couldn't pay, they literally came in your house and took all your stuff out your house. And they did. They came in our house and they took everything practically, except for the beds and stuff. I know we kept those, but Mama's living room furniture and my piano. And I sat there and I watched them take my piano out the house. And I was just devastated because I no longer could take the piano lessons, and I didn't have a piano. So, that's one memory I had. I always hated that, and that's how I came to buy my own piano later. That's a whole lot longer farther ahead. But then some then I was like I said, about 5, 6. And Mama used to have me doing things like, too, you always, young girls were taught to be ladies. So I used to take etiquette classes from a lady, and she taught us, took ballet lessons, all of that good stuff. I did that. And how Mama paid for it was, Mama was a seamstress. And so she was a seamstress, and she crocheted. And so she would make, in exchange, because she didn't have, money. They bartered, that's what they did. So she would make doilies. Mama would crochet doilies. And doilies is something that you sit on your, make your lamps and stuff look pretty. And so she would crochet doilies, or she would sew clothes. And that's how she would pay for stuff, And then I don't know what all Daddy did, but I know Daddy started working, like we got on welfare stuff, and then that's when also a little bit after that, all our cousins, a lot of our cousins came to live with us, because Evelyn, Lewis, and Emma got sent to sanitarium. That's what they did when you had TB back in the day. They totally isolated you. And so to keep their children from going into the system, being, Mom and Daddy took them in. And so we were all there for a while. And I don't remember exactly how long, but I know it was at least about 3 years or so. At least that long that Daddy took all that in. Plus Big Mama and Papa was living with us. In that literally it was a 2-bedroom house with a finished attic and a basement. And so we had all them people living in that 2-bedroom house. Let's see, I used to do, as I got older, I used to be the one to take whoever had doctor's appointments. I used to take them I'd take 2 or 3 at a time. Mama had to put me out of school. And I'd take them down to Harvard. We used to be, that too was something, but back then welfare, you got assigned to certain hospitals. That's where you got your medical care. So we started out at receiving, and then it became so many people that had to, was looking for medical care. So they started breaking it up. I don't remember how it was, but I know we got assigned to one of the best hospitals at that time, which was Harper Hospital. And so we used to go there, we get the voucher, and you saw every doctor, whatever. That's when you got really good. And they didn't make a difference in you because you were poor. You got the best of health care. That's why I believe that we are in as good health as we're in as a family, because Mama took advantage of what was offered. And she tried not to miss an appointment. We got free dental, we got ear, nose, throat, everything, whatever you needed. We got, we got it. So when Mama couldn't go, she'd be either pregnant or what, I have to take the day off from school to take, I used to take, I started with, let's see, I'm 10 years older than Mike, so I started with Mike. I went from Mike, let's see, I probably took Richard Paulette too, I'm not sure. I took everybody until,
So
I don't know, I'm trying to think.
So what is one of the, if you don't have one, just to narrow it down, fondest memories about growing up in the family?
Fondest
about Mom and Daddy, or about anything?
Even though I had a lot of responsibilities, I still had fun. I used to love, especially in summertime, I used to love the rule in the house was, the earlier you got up and got your work finished, the more time you had to be outside, and sometimes you put all day long. I used to love that. But one of my fondest memories was going to the library. I love the library. I love the library. I outread all of the books in my school library at Boynton School. And my teacher, she was like, they didn't know what to do with me because I loved to read so much. So I went from there to River Rouge Library. And their library was real small. It was just on the side of the hospital. It was real small. I read everything in their library. And she said, well, I don't know what to do. I have to send you to the E-Course Library. And that was much bigger, much larger. So I would walk, that had to be at least, I don't know. It was a long walk because I used to start out in the morning and you could check out 9 books at a time. And I would check out 9 books every time. You had to bring them back within 2 weeks. I've been read all, well, in that first week I've been read all 9 of the books. My mama would make me wait for that 2-week period, so. And from there, I love to read. I just love to read. I love, we go to the playground, we play till it gets dark. We play baseball all day. And anybody who came off the street, everybody played. Everybody got on everybody's team. You just said, come on in, you just play baseball. We played baseball till you couldn't see the ball no more. And one time, one funny thing I remember, we were playing ball, it was dark, and somebody hit a line drive, but it went a long way, and we couldn't see it, and we couldn't find the ball. And we said, okay, we'll start the game again tomorrow, and we'll find the ball tomorrow. Because it was dark, you couldn't find the ball. So we did. We come back the next day, and there the ball was. We found it out way out in the field, we're halfway down the field. And we started the game all over again. And the game would go on. It never would end. That's what was funny. I used to laugh about that. Because it was just hilarious. The scores would be like, and we let the game go on for the whole week. So it was never like this. It would be like, 100 to 50. It didn't matter. It just didn't matter. And I used to love to get out because the playground was right at the end of our street. So all the kids on our block, we would hurry up to get down there because that's when it was called Parks and Recreation. And you'd have to line up to get the equipment. So we used to love to run down there so we could get all of the main stuff like the volleyballs and playing badminton and baseball and stuff. And I used to love. That was something I just loved. That was something. And then just a sense of family. I have good memories. Me and Rita was like my cousin Rita. We were real close, and we the same age, and so we was getting in trouble all the time. And when we had big, me and Rita, we used to have big time fun. We used to do some of the crazy stuff. And when you're young, you don't even have a sense of danger usually. And we used to play this game called Bail Out. And it was crazy. Oh Lord. We used to jump out the second story of the house.
Wow.
Just jump out the window. We called it Bail Out.
Wow.
We just jump out the window to see who would land.
You broke your legs.
I think it was the next door neighbor who finally told Mama, did you realize? And Mama didn't know because we would wait to do this stuff when Mama would be asleep. And the neighbor just kept seeing, like real literally bodies jumping out the window. Like,
wow.
And we just do stuff like that.
That was crazy.
We never got hurt or anything. We could have been impaled on the fence.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. Oh, I would do crazy stuff, but it was fun. It's just fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No. When I was doing the project, the 13 Parallels, and on your track, I asked you to give me your advice to someone living on Earth in 2 words, and you said respect truth. Now, as far as for the young people, and especially the young people in our family, nieces and nephews, cousins, and whatnot. What can you elaborate on that? When you say respect truth,
Okay.
as far as advice of living on
I
earth?
learned that just recently. What and why I say respect truth. I think for so long we hide the truth because we think if people know the truth, if we tell them the truth, it's going to change how they feel about us, or that it's going to change something. But truth, really, it doesn't really change anything. Truth and reality are almost synonymous with each other. They're almost the same because you have to deal with truth. And that's why I said when you get the truth, respect it. Don't just cast it aside because somebody told you the truth. It's like what I learned at Sister Alexander's, how I came up to with that was Sister Alexander's 90th birthday party. She had a saying in her house that says, the truth will set you free, but at first it'll make you miserable. That's why I say respect the truth, meaning that when you learn the truth sometimes it does hurt. It really does hurt, but then you have to respect it because it is what it is. And you really can't change truth, even though it may be painful for you. It may continue to be painful for you too, because you'll have them moments when something will come back and you go like, but you can't change it. And that's why I said respecting it means that I can't change this. This is a fact. Truth is a fact. It's a truth. And so I can't change it, so I gotta respect it. And respect it meaning that I have a choice as to what I do with this truth. You know, I can just either dismiss it or I can deal with it. And deal with it whatever way you deal with it. You know, like I said, because at the end of any day, the rest of your life, the truth is what it is and what it was. Because some truths you learn about some real truth. That's what I say about hiding the truth. And sometimes hiding the truth, I feel, causes more damage to people than if you go ahead and deal with it in the beginning, because it puts some people, sometimes I know we've all experienced it, it can put you in a tailspin when you learn something down the road and you go like, why didn't they tell me that long time? Why didn't they give me this truth a long time ago? I could have dealt with it. And so like now when you if you learn out something later on, you don't know what to do with it. You don't know what to do with that truth. And you don't know, how can I respect that truth? Because, you know what, you get what I'm saying? Because,
so, what do you think is the greatest lesson that was taught to you by Haman and Melita Cross, our parents?
I'll say being responsible. That I know I'm that to a fault. Being responsible and caring about your reputation. Just caring about who you are as a person. That you should care about yourself more than what people think about you. And I think that's one of the greatest things. Like that it's especially. Mama was saying, you gotta be true to yourself. You gotta be, just because we were raised in what the world call a religious atmosphere, that didn't make me religious as such. I had to grow into that myself. I had to accept it for myself. So it's like I said, being responsible, being true to me, being true, learning how to be my own person, and standing up for what's right, and caring about people, really caring, not being selfish. I say that, not being selfish.
Tell us about the fortune of solitude that our mother taught us. Okay. The fortune of solitude and the mastering the art of being alone.
Yeah. Mama instituted something in our family. I think it was on Sunday afternoons after church. Have dinner, and we always had meals together. And now that's something that families don't do. A whole lot of families don't do anymore. But every Sunday we would have family meal. And then after that, after meal, you sit for a little bit. Then it was, you had to be quiet for at least 1 hour. She said you didn't have to go to sleep, but you couldn't talk. You couldn't talk to, with a house full of siblings and stuff like that. You couldn't talk to each other, but you had to be quiet. So we learned how to either we would read or we just lay there and be quiet. We didn't have TV. We didn't have TV in our house for 10 years. From 1959 until I bought a TV. I was one who bought a TV back into the house. But even then, she didn't want anybody watching the TV. I had to keep it in my bedroom. But that was something we all, we talk about it now, how we learned how to be by ourselves. And that was what she was trying to teach us. I remember her telling me, Mom, why we gotta be quiet? She said, teaching you how to be by yourself. And she said, because if you don't learn how to be by yourself, you really don't know how to be with other people. And you have to learn how to entertain yourself. You got to learn how to, you don't need a bunch of people around you all the time. And as far as I know, each one of us appreciate that lesson because she kept that
Indeed.
Throughout. Yeah, because we are, I see it in all of us that, and we've passed it down to the grandchildren, where that, because I instituted that even with Rachel and Lamar, and then Kasi has it. His mama instituted with him, learning how to be by yourself and liking to be by yourself, and you study more, and I think you open your mind up to learning and all like that, and I love it. I'm glad. I always said Mama was a pioneer and innovator, but somebody beyond her time, because we used to get made fun of because we had to do that, but we didn't care because we got to the place we look forward to it, And I'm sure like you enjoy it. It's not that we're not antisocial. We just know how to be by ourselves and enjoy it. And I do. To this day, I do. I'm here in the house. I can go all day long and really be right here in the house. And we say hi in the morning, and I'm busy. I'm not one of them. I love the quiet, and I mean the absolute quiet sometimes too. I don't have on any music. I don't have on TV. I don't have nothing. And sometimes I don't even want to hear the hum of the sewing machine. I just want quiet, and I love learning. You learn a lot when you learn how to be by yourself. You learn a lot, and I think that you worked out a lot of. If you got issues and stuff, you learn how to work it out in your head in solitude. If you get the good solitude, because you deal with stuff. You learn how, like we're going back to truth, you learn how to put stuff out there and say, yep, this is what it is. What I'm going to do with it now. And in that solitude, along with that solitude comes peace. You become peaceful and not so much reactionary. Yeah, you learn, but it's a process that you learn. The more solitude that you have, the more you don't react to the chaos that's going on around you.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. Let me ask you a few questions.
Okay.
As far as specifically music and generally the arts, how important are they? What do they mean to you, and how important are they to society as a whole?
It's really important to me because it was when I got into playing the piano. It was a way of escape for me. I could just lose myself in playing the music. It was very calming. But like when I started, like I'm saying, I know what that means now, but I didn't know what it meant then when that, like they tell you to do stuff to make you, to get you calm and stuff. But with a lot of stuff that was going on with me, I learned that, just like I did with reading, the music, it was just, I could just get lost up in the music, and I could play for hours on end without stopping. And it was very cathartic, and that's why I think it's very important, because it opens up your your scope. You can learn, especially if you don't like, in particular, music. If you don't get stuck in just one genre of music, you will learn how to listen, and you're going to get something from every kind of form of music. I don't care if it's folk music, opera, what they call alternative, punk, metal, I don't care what it is. You will hear something once you get into music. And that's why I feel that it's so important, like in the schools, that's also an outlet for kids with all this energy and stuff. If they're the dance, the arts, music, all of that, it's real important, because it just it can take you so many places. It can take you a lot of places. And I think they made the biggest mistake when they took the arts and the music away from the kids in the schools. It's important in every aspect of our life, even in the workplace. Music has an effect on the mind, and it can be beneficial and it can be harmful.
Now, as it relates to male-female relations, do you think that, with the Me Too movement and just abuse and mistreatment of women and children and all this stuff, do you think, first of all, as far as the women, like with Harvey Weinstein, Bill Cosby, all this, do you think they're all innocent victims, or do you think some of them are guilty of playing the game and losing?
Playing the game and losing. I think there were truly some victims. I feel that some women were really, really naive and duped into thinking, because women do that. As a female, I can give a pin number. Some females are easily persuaded that a guy can talk and say anything to them and they will believe it. And I base that on, because I'm a believer, I base that on in the scripture where that with Adam and Eve, after the fall, God said the woman's desire would be toward the man. So that's a heavy thing when you think about it. The desire is toward the man. Now, what he meant was, what I believe God meant, now, women weren't supposed to be stupid. But overall, because Eve was out of order for what she did, from that point on, her weakness as such would be toward pleasing that man and listening to anything that man said, and therefore she ends up sometimes being really stupid. So in this instance of moving ahead all these years later, women who want to be, they in their mind, I want to be this, I want to be that, and they grab onto the person who they feel will fill that void, whatever it is, and they're like, oh, I want to be famous, I want to be that. Some are victims. Some of them it was calculated moves, like if I hook up with Bill Cosby, then I can, or Weinstein or whoever, then I can move a couple of steps higher to where I want to go. But they didn't realize the man was playing the game too. So the two games collided, and the woman ended up losing. And the woman ends up like, okay, who do I tell my story to? I'm going to keep it to myself. And then some of them, over the years, nothing happened for them. Okay, now I'm going to go out here and I'm going to tell my story and say, so-and-so did this to me and so-and-so did that to me. Now, Weinstein and Cosby and any other, all those men guilty. Oh yeah, oh yeah. And the reason why I say yeah, but they did what they did because men have been able to do what they do unchecked for centuries. I mean, men do what they do, and the women didn't. I think the thing that kind of angers me is that women didn't speak out when when it actually happened to you. You should have spoke out. You should have said something. But I feel that quite a few of these women are like, yeah, I don't know. I really don't, and I'm not a blame the victim type of person, but I think it went both ways. Is Weinstein and Bill Cosby, are they dogs? Yeah, but they dogs in the sense that they could do what they do. They had the power. They had that kind of power that they could do what they did, and they went unchecked. The thing that I resent the most is that these women could have, I believe, stopped these men dead in their tracks if they had spoke up. It's hard for me to believe that a woman has that kind of fear that she can't speak up when a man has done something to her that she didn't ask for. It's just hard for me. It's hard for me to be all the way. And like I said, everybody ain't like me, but I know when I've had situations as a child, I was raped as a child, but my parents handled it. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So it was handled. So that's why I'm saying that some of these women, I don't know, maybe somebody never told them that you're supposed to speak up. Some of these women could have been molested in their childhood and nobody ever went to their defense. I don't know, but I think it goes both ways. I honestly think it went both ways. Well, especially when I look at the ages of these women, like now. I just feel like, man, why didn't y'all speak up sooner? You know, it just, for me, it don't pass. All of them don't pass the smell test.
Now, as far as the survivors of your generations that's still around and the upcoming generations and even my generation, what advice would you give them on some just basic and extensive advice on life and enjoying life and living life? What advice would you give to those?
Okay, first of all, I think what you need to do is have the respect for those who came before you. Check out what they did to get to where they did finally arrive, and how they achieved it. And maybe that won't totally work for you, but pull out what could work for you. And you need to slow down. First of all, the generations now, they need to slow down. Everybody wants everything right now, and that's because basically our world is built on stuff and junk and everything, and we're a society of instant gratification. You don't have to wait for anything. Like literally, I don't have to wait. I got the microwave. Everything is so we've become a microwave world in every aspect of our lives. So it's like if I get up in the morning and I say I want this, I apply that the things that I need. I apply getting it instantly to the same as if I go get up in the morning and all I got to do is hook up the coffee maker and my coffee is done in a minute. It used to be you had to wait till the coffee percolated. You ain't got to do that no more. It's in a minute. So I say the generations now, y'all need to slow down. You need to just slow down and take things a step at a time. Now it took me a long time for me to realize that that's how life really works, is that you need to slow down and be able to be content with achievements in small increments. All achievement don't have to be overnight. It's like set a goal for yourself. Like in 6 months, where do I want to be? I want to, like, first of all, I say write down what it is that you want to achieve in your life, and then how do I go about getting this, and then do it in increments of time, not try to take it all in at once, because that's what overwhelms you. Even in my generation, we got overwhelmed with a lot of things. Once we got, like, especially when civil rights came in and all of that, we got overwhelmed and we started just doing just a lot, and then we had to learn how to, like, well, wait a minute, slow down, let me achieve this, let me achieve that. And as I say, you pile on your achievements, not have them all in a pile, but you pile them on, you stack them up, and be content with, like, if it's something as simple, like, for instance, let's say, like, don't achieve a lot of debt, but if you do, decide one by one, okay, I'm gonna pay this off first, and then before you know it, you've achieved some stuff. But basic overall advice I give is just slow down, pay attention to the world around you, and especially in your village, pay attention to the elders and be willing to listen to them and learn from them. You'd be surprised what you learn. Like, I learned from Papa and Big Mama. Papa used to tell me all the time about stealing, and he would say, and about back then we had, layaway was the thing, but he'd say, if you want it today, you're gonna want it tomorrow. So take your time, take your time to figure out how you're gonna get what you want, because if you want it, if you really want it, and it's something you really want, you'll get it. You're gonna make a way to get it. You don't have to get it right now. And then Big Mama used to just tell me, I would say, Big Mama, why such that? Because I wouldn't understand stuff, and she would say, keep on living. I know people have heard that. Keep on living, and trust me, when you keep on truly living, you do learn some things, and you end up having those aha moments. Because you listen to the elders. You said, now I knew what Aunt so-and-so was doing. I understand what Big Mama was saying, because I'm in that spot now. I absolutely know. But basically, to me, over time and overall, is to slow down. Enjoy what you do have, period, in your life. If you got peace in your life, enjoy it. Enjoy it. Take the moment to relish it and enjoy it. Be grateful. If you are grateful, enjoy your gratefulness. Just be thankful. Look around and be grateful and appreciate and enjoy your family, your village, your friends. Enjoy them. Just enjoy life and quit rushing, because basically, where you going? I mean, like, where are we going? I mean, that's why I think we have so much stress, because we go like, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, and it's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Basically, in life, I feel the only thing we've got to do is take one breath at a time. That's it. That's all. Take one breath at a time.
Give some advice to the sisters, the sisterhood, whether it be white, black, others, but specifically the sisters, black women. What advice would you give them about being a woman in the past, present, and the future? How to hold it down, and what are some things that you've learned in your years here?
First of all, recognize and learn what being a woman is. You are a female, and relish in that, glow in that you're female, and there's certain qualities and stuff that we have that men don't have, and learn how to use them, not abuse the attributes and stuff that you have being a female. The other thing is quit thinking that if I don't have a man, I'm not a whole person. One is a whole number. I always tell women that. One is a whole number, meaning that God made you whole. Everything that you need is within you. You don't need a man. He just said your desire. See, there's a difference between the need and a desire is toward a man. So you need to be developing yourself and become happy within yourself. Because once you become happy with your femaleness, then you will have all that a brother, when a brother see you, he go like, aha. Like, I'm sure that's what Adam, see, when God made Eve, when Adam woke up, he said, aha, because Eve had everything. He didn't know what he needed or wanted, but God put it in him where when he saw Eve, it was like, aha, ooh wee. And so that's what we have to do as females. We have to learn how to enjoy being a female and learn that you ain't got to do all of this extra, I call it, and my daughter, all that extra stuff that we do. Learn how to be happy with whom God made you. You are a female, and it's all right. We're nurturers. We care. We got a lot of special talents and things. We have softness, relishing being a soft, feminine, just being totally feminine. Don't let the things that have happened to you define you, make you say, I'm still gonna be feminine no matter what. I've had a lot of things happen in my life. I mean, a lot of things. A whole lot of things that happened to me. But I never lost sight of being a female. I love being a female. I love being a female. I don't want to be a man. I don't want to be a man. I don't want to be anything else. I'm female. Quite personally, I will say that I didn't get all that I needed from my father in order to know what to look for in a man. But I have to admit this, though, that I saw the relationship between my mother and father. I know that my father treated my mother with respect, so I knew that I didn't want a man who would disrespect me. I saw my father be loving toward my mother and all like that, and I saw my mother also being a feminine. And then there's women need to look at the women around you, see how they do themselves. My mother was very feminine. I mean, she was a strong woman, but she was very feminine. She was soft. She taught us by example. So I think as women, we need to look at other and zero in on good examples of femininity and learning and get to know that sister who, you know, you admire her and ask her, how'd you get to be how you are? You know, like, I admire you. What is it that made you, you know, like you know, you are who you are. You know, you exude femininity, and you're a strong woman, and you're an intelligent woman, and all of that. But yet and still, you're not walking around here cracking the whip and trying to you're not trying to prove to anybody who you are. You know who you are, and that's another thing. Women, you need to know who you are and be confident in that. And regardless, don't do nothing because so and so over here is doing it. Do stuff because you want to do it. Don't join the group because it's the group. Join the group only if they are moving in the direction that you want to move in. And above all, I say get a mentor. Listen to the elder women. Listen to the women of your village. Just pay attention, and then not only pay attention to it, but make it a part of your mantra. Period. Yeah.
Okay. For all those who seek to be joined together as one, marriage in the traditional sense.
Okay.
One man, one woman. What advice would you give them on the complete journey from courtship to consummation?
Okay. First of all,
and to throughout living
it. Okay. First of all, you got to be friends. You got to start with friendship. Don't start with bumping bodies together. Don't do that. Don't start with the sex, because it's of course the thing that gets us together is the attraction. You got to have the physical attraction. You got to have that from the beginning, but don't let that be your focal point, because the physical part will not sustain a relationship, because that'll get old in a minute. You'll start looking around and saying, as far as the physical goes, it's like chasing that high. I mean, the first time you be with somebody, it's, you might be up there on the moon, but then after a period of time, it can become mundane. So then that's why you're gonna stray off the path. So my thing is, get to know each other. I mean, as best as you can, because as the cliche saying goes, usually when we hook up with each other, we send a representative of ourselves, because we don't want to be rejected. So I can't let you see right exactly the first time you meet me. I can't let you know who I really am. But it's through old-fashioned courtship, the way it used to be. I don't think we need to go back there, because that was a bit much. Whether the daddy sat in on the young man and the young lady, somebody had to sit in between them and all that kind of stuff. I ain't talking about that, but I'm saying, like, you meet each other. Dating. We need to get back to old-fashioned dating. I mean, old-fashioned dating. And I'm telling, I tell women all the time. I say women have flipped the script themselves, because they do too much. Women do too much because they're willing to do almost anything to get a guy, and all you got is a guy. You ain't got nothing else. He ain't no guy's substance. You done moved him in your house. You met him in the club at 12 o'clock, and 12:01 you done moved him into your crib. You done took him home with you and all that. Just good old-fashioned and mystery about yourself. Both of you. The mystery of my like in my relationship with Ruth was getting to know him. I wanted to get to know him. I didn't know what was going to happen when we met, because like I said, he was a blind date. So I didn't know, but we got to know each other, and we spent. Was I physically attracted? Heck yeah, I was attracted to him. But we slowed our roll. We slowed it down, and we spent time, just the majority of the time. We spent time talking, and we talked about everything. I mean everything. We got to really know each other, and I would always be able to go, okay. And he said he did the same thing, because we've had this conversation with each other about what attracted us to each other. And that's why I said you need to get to know each other. There's male and female. Get to know each other. And then listen, so that you really, really, really listen, so that you will know, is this person, am I really willing to spend the rest of my life with this person? And I'm saying there that once you get to know each other, then you become you got to become really relaxed with each other. I'm saying, literally, let him see you without your makeup on. Let him see you without your weave in your hair. Brother, let her actually be up on you once or twice when you're funky and you ain't what. That's what I'm talking about. To get the real, to be real with each other, and let them see you. Even don't withhold your anger, but don't be over the top with your anger. Like if something makes you angry, let the person see you. Communication. Let them see you. And then when you all have disputes, have that dispute, but always know that you're not trying to injure. You're not trying to injure or wound the person that you say you want to spend the rest of your life with. And make sure, see them, look at them in every aspect. Do I want this person to be the mother of my children, the father of my children? Because you're going to have the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it ain't going to always be sweet. But you got to have some rules, though. You got to have rules. I believe that even when because you're not going to always, it's not going to always be on top of the world. Learn, as they say, fight fair. Learn how to have your disputes fair. Don't disparage that person. Don't start calling them names. Don't start calling her the B word and you calling him this and that. Don't do that. You can be angry with each other.
Be constructive.
Yes, and absolutely letting them know, right? And letting them know, like, look, I ain't feeling you right now. So let's cancel this right now. Let's stop this right now because it's gonna be something. If we don't stop right now, it's gonna be something, and you might end up stepping over that line if you don't stop. And some of them, men really had a rule. This is what we decided early in our very, very, very early in our relationship. Well, we talked about it before we even once we got engaged and stuff. We like I said, we was always talking. We said if it got too heated, the rule was one of us must leave the room. Period. When we see it start getting heated, and we've had those moments, and we've had those moments, and one of us left the room. I either left and went in another room, or he left out. I mean, that was it, and that was to keep us from going past,
the boundary line.
Well, we couldn't come back because I'd say sometimes you. And then you come back and then you'll say, oh, I didn't mean that. Yeah, you did. Yes, you did. You just let it come out. And some stuff you just shouldn't let come out. I mean, there's feelings that you have that you really absolutely mean them. But because you love that person, you don't want to do that. You don't want to break them down. And you got to be willing to compromise. Sometimes it's your turn. For whatever you decide you're doing, and then other times it's their turn, and you got to be willing to do it with a fairly reasonable spirit, and don't say, well, I'm doing it just because you want me to do it. No, genuinely enter in and say, you know what, this is gonna make him okay, so I'm gonna do this even though I don't want to do it. I've done that. I've done stuff. I go like, oh Lord, I don't want to do this. Case in point, it's like I hate going to Home Depot. I hate going to Home Depot, basically, unless I'm going there for something. But if really say, would you go to Home Depot with me? I would take a deep breath and go like, oh Lord, I don't want to go to Home Depot. I'd go like, okay, yeah, I'll go. And I would go, but I would go with a good spirit though. I would go in there. I would tell myself, okay, Evelyn, go to Home Depot with him. And while he looking for what he looking for, you going over there where the, whatever, the lighting and stuff is. And I ended up enjoying it. I really would end up enjoying myself. I mean, there's other times. I mean, just even something as simple as going to church with him. Sometimes I didn't feel like it. And I was like, I don't really want to go. But when he asked, I would go like, okay, I'm going to do this. And so compromise is a main thing. And just also being willing to let each other have their own space. Just know that it ain't don't take it personal, cause you in your space and everybody need their own space. You should be. I have a problem with women who want to be with their man 24/7. I don't want to be. I don't, because that takes the mystery out. See, if you learn how to miss each other even during the day, it's better. I don't have to talk, like even when in our courtship, really not, we did not talk to each other every day. In fact, when I moved back home, even when I was living on my own, I only saw him like once. I would see him like maybe once a week. We might chat with each other like 10 or 15 minutes at work or something. But we went out on the weekend. We only chose one day of the weekend to go out. And then when I moved back home for a minute, I only saw him once a week. Every Wednesday he would come over. Because Mama had rules in the house, so he would come over. I only saw him for like about 4 or 5 hours, maybe about 4 hours, and he would leave the room. Mama had come together, be gone by 11 o'clock. So he been and went to work, came here, and that was it. And I love that, and we kept that going. We kept that going. Even now, it's like we just kept that going in our relationship. That to me is what endurance is like. I learned how to miss him. He worked long hours, but I didn't whine. I'm not a whiny person, so I didn't whine. I didn't need him. I didn't need to track him. I didn't need to know where he was every moment of the day and why it take you so long to do this. Give each other space, and when you're gonna do it for the endurance, if you don't have trust from the beginning, don't think you're gonna get trust after you get married. You gotta have trust from the beginning. And don't keep turning over rocks looking for something. Because if you keep looking for something, you're going to find something. Don't hold it against them about what their past was. And I'm saying like some people say, well, should you tell your prospective mate everything that happened in your life? No, heck no. Only thing I say, if you got a STD, if you done murder somebody and nobody know it, yeah, they need to know that. Okay, they need to know that. They need to know that now. But other than that, I mean, to me, just assume that your person you will now have been with other people. Now, if you've got a problem, I don't know who on this earth think that unless you made them yourself in your basement, that they ain't dated other people. Okay, come on, don't hold that against them.
Some have, but some have been. They probably real young.
Yeah.
You know, and just fresh out the gate. But these days, everybody is been dated.
Yeah, exactly. And just know how they have treated people, though. Learn. I'm saying keep your ear to the ground now, because you need to know what you need to know. Because you don't need. That's what I'm talking about. You don't need.
Find out how they are. Take them driving.
Yeah, you don't need to have something jump up on you. Like I'm saying, of course you need to know whether your mate got some children somewhere. Don't have somebody knocking on your door talking about, hi daddy, you know, and he or she done told you they ain't got no kids, and all of a sudden it's about 7 or 8 of them come knocking on your door. I'm talking about, but know each other as best you can and enjoy each other. Don't look for the faults and this and that. And also realistic, know that if you're young, the person that you're with now is not going to be that person 50 years from now. I am not the thin little cute little something that I was when I first met Rudy. But he still thinks that I'm cute, and he still like what he said. So enjoy that. I mean, because we all going to change. Everybody going to change, because we have no control over that. And for me to try to still look like and act like I was at 23 and 24, that's crazy. So I'm saying enjoy each other. Learn how
Tell me,
enjoy each other. Period.
What was it like when how the mission started, that Detroit's Afro-American missions? What was it like, and then what were some of your roles involved with it, helping out Mama and Daddy start Detroit's Afro-American mission?
As far as I know, it started from somebody learned about Daddy doing Bible classes and stuff like that, and then there was a group of Caucasians who really wanted to heard about Daddy's desire to be an inner city missionary, and so they basically put it in motion. And Daddy wanted to do the things like, let's just say, reaching a total man, feeding them, clothing them, educating them, and all like that. And so that is basically how they got started. One of the first churches was Hazel Park Baptist Church, who they started helping meet those needs for people, food, feed, clothing, and all like that. And pretty soon it was just tons of white folks that just started donating and stuff. And we didn't have the space. Once we moved to Melrose, we didn't have the space to put all this stuff. So Daddy had rented a building around on Oakland, and we had this building where it was just from the floor to the ceiling with clothes and stuff. And we have to, we used to go through it and set up stuff and have people come in if you needed stuff. Because it was real hard for the people. We were not accepted when we first moved over there on the north end. We as a family, we were not accepted. They did not welcome us. It took a long time. They were suspicious of us. There was all kinds of stuff. It was horrible when we first moved over there. But then people started slowly coming. Mama used to have a ladies group. She started a ladies group, and she was teaching them to sew and cook and stuff like that. And slowly, it started growing. People wanted more than just that one time a week. I think Daddy was with the men and Mama was with the women. And then we eventually, the building where the mission is now used to be called the Jam Handy. I think it was called Jam Handy Building, which they used to be a building where they used to, it was a studio basically, where they made commercials. So the building came up for sale, and the people, whoever helped purchase the building, and then the building got remodeled and it was just a handful of men who helped do the remodeling of the mission as to what it is today. Who laid the groundwork. Now, the electrical and stuff, we have the volunteers. We always let people know, but the people who actually did the brick and mortar and putting that stuff in was Hans Witt, Dolph Perry, Brother Lewis, Rudy Lewis, and Daddy. They were the 5 men who put that mission together. They did that. The brick and mortar thing, they did it. And then after that, like I said, it just started to grow. It just started snowballing. And pretty soon people were coming from, it was like, the mission was like a beacon. People started seeing that there was no catch to, like, if you needed food, if you needed help, there wasn't no, well, you do this, you got to do that. Like, person literally at one while, it was like, you hungry, you just come in here and eat. But then of course, you know how sometimes people end up taking advantage of it. And then Daddy added that you had to come and at least listen to a 15-minute Bible study or whatever in order to eat. Because a lot of people would come, they knew exactly when the meal would be served, and that's when they would show up. So he had to, made it where you had to come and sit through. But then, like I said, it became where we provided people with cars. People who had jobs, when job opportunities, we would get a list. They would send us and they would call and say, we need X amount of people for this job. We were able to provide jobs for people.
So this is one of the first of its kind missions in Detroit.
Yes.
Was this before Rescue Mission?
No, the Rescue Mission wasn't doing all of what we were doing. See, and that's what I said. It was innovative. They were feeding people and stuff like that. Now, the only other place I could say was really like that was the Salvation Army. The Salvation Army provided, but on a basis of where that it was centered around the black community. I'll put it this way: it was centered around helping our people. Daddy would get calls from the courts. He helped people get sentences shortened. He'd go and speak on behalf of somebody. He would help, people make themselves, as the mission grew and they learned what it was about, people volunteered their services. Daddy got a lot of criticism for accepting, quote, blood money, as it was called. They called it, but white folks wouldn't come down and do anything but they give money. And Daddy said it didn't matter. You take the money and you make it work, and what he did. Then people offered their services, and he got criticism for that. But what was he supposed to do? I mean, if somebody needed a lawyer and you had a white lawyer over here volunteering their time, why would you turn it down if it meant that you could keep somebody out of jail? Didn't make sense to me not to take advantage of it. So Mom and Daddy did a lot, and how the mission really grew is what they used to call deputation work. They started attending a lot of the white missionary conferences and stuff, and they were referred to as inner city missionaries. And so that's how the mission really grew, because without the input of Caucasians, the mission would not have been what it ended up being, because it helped so many people. Because scholarships, people went to college, all kinds of stuff. People got houses, you name it. And that's how it did. The ministry grew. We became well known all over the United States. We had people, we used to have on Sunday, we had people come from everywhere. From everywhere.
And what was some of your roles?
My roles was I helped Mama with when I could, because I was in school and I was working, and I'd help with the ladies. I taught Sunday school. Mostly I did the music part. When we started having worship service, I was in charge of the music department. But then I became a leader of the Pioneer Girls, which is a organization like Girl Scouting. I became a leader of Pioneer Girls. Then later on, I became the mission secretary, and then I became the financial secretary. And then after that, I got married and stuff and all like that. But I just worked right there with them. Whatever, I just helped Mama wherever, cause she was in charge of the women. So I basically worked with Mama. I became a part of the side, what you want to call, group Mama started, DAWK. That was
Detroit Area Women's Koinonia.
Detroit Area Women's Koinonia, which was her offshoot was to teach women how to be able to become speakers, and also we would do like at times I went and me and Rudy would go at Mom and Daddy's place to speak on behalf of the mission when it came time to like raising money. Basically.
Oh, okay.
You know, we did some of that, but basically I did what I really fit in wherever Mama would want me to. Do stuff.
Tell me about your musicianship and how that all started about.
I started at 5 and then had to stop. Then who used to be my best friend, she used to go and take piano lessons. And she used to hate to go by herself, so she'd ask me to go and sit, wait. And so I used to go, and I just was fascinated. His name was Casey Jones, like the whatever. He saw how I was so fascinated by the piano, and he said, "Would you like to take lessons?" And I said, "Yes." And so I came home, and Mama, it was only a quarter a lesson, and so and he had a run. If you couldn't afford it, you could run a tab with him, but he didn't want it to get too high. So I was such a fast learner, and he really loved the way I learned so quickly, and I picked up the piano like that, and I was flying through it. And any musician who knows the Hanon exercises, I used to hate doing them, but I learned how to master it so I could get on with the other, because I had to do Hanon exercise, which is a hand exercise for dexterity and learning how to move up and down in the piano keys. And he was really fascinated by how I was learning so quickly. And one thing that stood out with him, some pianists watch their hands. Mr. Jones was very strict. He had a ruler. If you watched your hands instead of reading the music and being confident that you knew the notes, he would rap you across the knuckles while you were playing with this ruler. It took only about a couple or so raps across my knuckles that I learned, okay, I'm not doing this no more. And I started learning how to read music and not watch my hands, which I really, took off into that. I did that for a long time until he got ill. I took lessons from him until I got about 15. He got ill, and I found another teacher. He was a professor of music at Wayne State. His name was Dr. Thomas. And one thing about him that I loved was that he had me sit down, and he had all this. I love classical music, and I learned how to play classical, and that became my goal. I wanted to become a classical musician. I loved what's his name, Andre Previn, and I was fascinated by them. I wanted to become this classical pianist, and so I played all just the classics I learned to play. And Dr. Thomas, when I come to the lesson, he'd have the music sitting there, and my eyes would get big because I go like, oh my God. And he would say, play it. And I would sit there, and I would go like, I can't play this. And he said, I didn't say play it well. I said, play it. And he taught me how to figure out on the keyboard, musicians know how, and that I could read all of the notes above C and all like that. He taught me how to do that. And then after that, I studied with him until we moved. I would have still probably been with him if we hadn't moved. We moved from Southwest Detroit at that time. And then, but previous to that, I actually started playing publicly as such when I was 9. I started playing, going with my father to when they was ministering the Toledo Rescue Mission and down to Open Door Rescue Mission. I was the pianist. I had to play. My feet couldn't even touch the pedal. And I played in prisons. I played in mental hospitals. Wherever there was ministry, it just I was the designated pianist. So I've played quite a bit. Then I went to that. My goal was to I wanted to go to. I was accepted at Eastern Michigan University. That's where I was going to major in music. But that didn't happen for me.
That's what Tanisha graduated from.
Yeah, but that's where I was going to go. But I wound up at Detroit Bible College. It was called Detroit Bible Institute at the time, but then it was Detroit Bible College. And I was studying for music, but that didn't work out for me because, unfortunately, like I say this, I don't blame anybody, but I'll just say this. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I know now. It was not a good thing for me. They would not allow me in the music department to do what I knew I could do. And I got frustrated and I quit. I just quit because it just was not good. It was that was my first major encounter of racism. And I was shocked by it in what is considered the Christian world. And Mama and Daddy both tried to keep me, and I couldn't. I was just too bowled over by it, and I quit. I just absolutely quit because I could not believe. I mean, I had been raised to believe that Christians were Christians no matter what. We were all true, and it was not true. And I became real sour on it. Then I started back about a couple of years. After that, I quit Detroit Bible College in '66, I think it was. And then I started going to, it used to be right behind the DIA was a Detroit Institute of Music. I started there for a while. I went there for a while. And then once again, the classes got canceled because our teacher got ill. And then I just never went back. I remember Mama telling me, you need to keep on. But then, like I said, I just started living life. And I put it in the back burner, But years later, a whole bunch of years later, after I was married, I started back in the music department at Marygrove College. And I sang with the Chancellor Choir, I think it was called. I was with the Chancellor Choir. I went back into piano. I went back with the music major emphasis. At first was on performance, but I was older then, and I said, I can't do performance. But the emphasis was going to be on education. I took voice, I took piano, I took, regular things, and then things happened, and I had to quit once again, and I didn't go back. I didn't go back until '96. That was in the early '80s. I went, and I didn't go back until 1996. I went back to Marygrove, and this time I didn't go into music. I just went into liberal arts, and by this time too, both Mom and Daddy were in failing health, and I wanted so much because I know Mama she wanted to see me get a degree. So I went back under the 4-year thing, but because of both Mama's failing health, I cut it down to just getting my associate's degree, so that Mama and Daddy would get the chance, boy, to see me walk across the stage. And they were able to do that. So I graduated with my associate's degree in '98. year Cosby was born. And I'm glad I did that because they were so proud. They were proud of me because I had promised Mama that I wasn't going to give up the dream of getting a college degree. And in fact, my advisor was the one who told me that. She said, why don't you do this for now? She said, given what you shared with me about your parents, she said, why don't you go for your associates, finish that, and then later on, if you can, finish up. She said, and you know, that's what. So like, if I was to go back now, even at 70, all I'd have to do, I got all of my prerequisites out of the way, so I could just pick whatever. So my associates is in liberal arts, so I could pick whatever field I wanted to go in. I think if I did go back,
Music.
I think I probably end up being an English major. I think that's what I want. I think that's what I would do.
English. Okay.
Because I love to write. I got into I took courses along the way. I love to write. I wrote short stories. I got short stories. I was working on a novel. Then I get kind of bored with it and stuff.
Okay.
You know, I wrote poetry. I got poetry. I wrote. You know, stuff like that. I do a lot of stuff. I just, because I'm the.
You got any down here?
Okay. Next time you come over there,
Okay.
They call me and let me know
Okay.
every time I pull it out.
Okay.
But I don't have the habit of like poetry will form in my head, and I know I need to stop and write it down right then and there, and I don't.
Okay.
You know, because I've had, lately I've had some good stuff running through, and I said, man, I need to write that down. Then I go back and then I can remember.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing it because I got me a notebook now.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna start doing that. Of course, you know that's so and stuff,
Yeah.
but I do a lot of stuff.
Okay.
I'm real creative, and I always know like I think I became even more creative because I realize now that I had depression when I was young. I didn't know that's what it was though. That's the thing. I didn't know that. And I know exactly when it started. I mean, visually, I know when it started, but I didn't know that's what you called it. Because I just have real low periods, just real low periods. And then I just became, as I got older, reading and stuff, wanted to be adventurous and stuff. And the sewing was an outlet for me, which just really got me going. And the more when I was sewed, then it did something about wanting to branch out and learn more stuff. So I wasn't afraid to learn something, how to do something new. And then I just kept on like a challenge. I love a challenge.
Okay.
I love a challenge. And people will challenge me. Say, "Oh, Evelyn, you can do that." And I go like, "I can't do that." But just the very fact that somebody said, Evelyn, yes you can. And I do. I've learned, I'm really and truly a person who is basically self-taught. God has given me a gift. I recognize that now as a gift because I didn't. At first I would say, well, anybody can do that. And then it was through just one day he just said, anybody can't do what you do. You know, I realize you're gifted. You're very gifted. You know, I'm going, but everybody can do that. Anybody can do this. No. They can't do what you do. And so I recognize it as a gift. So I learned how to do a variety of things. And that's how I was able to I was determined to not let depression take a hold of my life because because I've been through so much stuff. But I was always saying there's got to be a way out without, I didn't want to be, like even, sometimes, like I went to doctors and stuff and they put me on medications, but I didn't like how they made me feel. So I absolutely quit and I was determined and I fought. And so I haven't had anything more lift or whatever since, good grief, since, it's been over 40 years.
That's good.
Yeah, over 40 years. Yeah, I fight, but I've had some, being honest, I've had some real battles of deep depression. Real deep. But I've had a good support system. Um, People who I feel comfortable talking to. I've been in therapy, not ashamed to say it. I was in therapy for, 4.5 years. Helped me tremendously, changed my life. And I recommend it to anybody, get a good therapist. Go for the gusto.
Okay.
Stuff that I had to do. I used to have to, my school, my elementary school, I used to have to run home. Was it? I can't remember how many times. If it was once a week or once a month. I don't remember. But
That's when you had to pay the bill.
I used to do that. I had to run home, and Mama would right after do everything, and I had to run back because there was it was in. I had to ride the bus down into the suburbs, and see our regular bus, the city bus, didn't go into the suburbs, so I had to catch what was called the suburban bus. So I had to run back, get on the suburban bus, ride all the way down to Lincoln Park to the Security Bank, and go and do the banking. And I started doing that I was about 7 or 8 years old. I started doing the banking for Mom and Dad. And just ride down there. I couldn't even, they couldn't even really see me, because it used to, like tellers and stuff used to sit up high. And I used to stand there and they'd have to read because I was little.
Yeah.
And they would get in there, get my receipt. And then I'd have to hurry back because the bus would stop running after a certain time. So I'd have to hurry up and do that and get it. And the bus stop was right outside the bank. So I'd have to do that, get back on the bus and ride back to the corner of 4th Street and Viscount, and then come home before it was dark.
Okay. You've experienced the struggle of having family members institutionalized. What was that experience like, and what guidance can you give to those and their families for pros and cons about institutionalization, both all of them, whether it be mental illness, health, or the system of incarceration?
Okay, well, the first one would be the one where my aunt, uncle, and my cousin were put in a Mayberry sanatorium for tuberculosis. That's what they did back in the day. I was too young to really understand how that was. I just know that I remember the people coming in our house. I remember them coming in and quarantining the house. I remember Emma had to stay in one room and we couldn't go. We couldn't talk to her, and they had this big sign up. I think a big old pink sign that said quarantine. You want me to turn it on? Because it's down. It's on you. But anyway. And then next thing I knew, she was gone. I remember the people coming in, and she was gone. And I remember us going to see them. So it was really, I didn't really know what was going on, what was really happening. I know that all of a sudden we had a house full of children, other children in our house. My parents took in their children for that period of time. They had, I think it was 2 of their children, one didn't stay with us, but the others did stay with us. So that I was too young to really, have an opinion about that. The other one was later on when your illness manifested itself in such a way that, wound up being hospitalized. At first, I didn't really understand. I was grown, of course, but I really didn't understand. I didn't know
didn't know about your struggles. I didn't know anything at all really about that you were having struggles until one day, I just, wound up. I was told you were in the hospital, and I'm just trying to figure out for what. But then when I got an understanding of what was going on, I did then got me some knowledge though. I went and it helped me to better understand because I wasn't afraid or anything. I just wanted to understand what was going on with you. I didn't want to shun you. I didn't want to back away from you or anything like that. And so when I got me some knowledge, it helped me to really accept what was going on with you. And I was okay with it. When I say I was okay with it, was that I felt okay to the best of my knowledge that you were getting help. I didn't like the fact that they kept locking you up. But I thought, well, maybe eventually with medication and stuff, you would get balanced out and everything. It hurt me. It hurt me deeply. I was real concerned about you. And it affected me. It affected me quite a bit. I think one of the hardest times was when I saw you at it's making me say it now, at the old VA hospital, and I came up to see you. But you recognized me. You recognized me right away. You recognized me when I came up to see you. And I felt okay after that. It was just I had to see you. And once I saw you, I thought, well, okay, he's going to be okay. But like I knew the years it took its toll on you, Mama, Daddy. But I saw you struggle to get better, and so I'm in a good place with you now because I see that you were very focused on getting better. You've accepted what's going on with you. You live with it, but you don't live in it. And that's what I appreciate more than anything in this world, is that you're not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of you. Never have been, never will be. It's a struggle. And I just would like for people to, first of all, don't make jokes about mental illness. Don't make jokes about it because it's not funny when people have their struggles. It ain't funny at all. Don't shun them because a lot of times stuff that's going on with them, they're not even the person that's going through it. They don't really realize that they're going through. So I would say that just show love, compassion, and get you some knowledge about what if the person. I hate labels, but if your loved one does get a label put on them about what's going on with them, get yourself some knowledge so that you can know and understand the highs and lows of, when I call them episodes, when they have their episodes, so that you know how to deal with them, and just above all accept that person for who they are and where they're at. And it's like, hey, don't think that they don't want to be better. They want to be better. They want to be present. They want to be there. So I appreciate where you are now, Angel. I appreciate that. And the third one was the really toughest one, dealing with Rudy being incarcerated. It was hard. It was nobody could. I don't have enough time. I don't even have enough life to tell anybody about how hard and rough it was. But one thing I do like, it even in this moment, you, Angel, are the first person who has ever asked me about what I went through. And I'm not trying to shame anybody or anything like that. But nobody really sat down and asked me how it was for me. I went through it. It was lonely. It was abusive at times for me because the system abused me. Just a lot of stuff that I know God brought me through it. It was rough for me and Rudy, but then it got to be where we dug our heels in and we were determined to make our way through it, I had to make a decision that if I couldn't do it, survive this for myself, I had to do it for my children. It was rough for me having my children removed out of my home. It was rough for me because all the fighting I had to do, eventually I had to do by myself, basically. At times, certain things that I had to do. Of course, I give Paulette was with me a lot. She was with me a lot. But then there was, after a point in time, that it really wasn't Paulette's battle, it was mine. And so a lot of stuff that I had to go through, I had to go through by myself, But I made it through. And once again, I got myself some knowledge about how to fight the system and all like that. And I know that every time, like Rudy and I can look back, we talk about it quite a bit, and we look at each other and we do ask, how did we make it through? And we know it was God who made it through. But I know one thing that we did make, I can tell you, when all this stuff started happening, when it first started happening, we made a resolve, because things was getting really ugly, even within the family, with the system, all like that. Stuff was getting real ugly, real nasty. And I'll never forget, we pulled up on made him pull up on the side of the road one day, because we had gone, I forgot where we were coming from. And I told him, I said, pull up. I said, we're going through this. I don't know. Neither one of us know what's going to happen, what's happening. But I said, let's make a promise to each other that we won't turn on each other, that we will stick with each other through thick and thin. We had no idea of the garbage and the stuff that was going to happen to us. We had no idea. But I did have a sense of it was getting really nasty and ugly, and we did feel alone. We felt like he was being, I'm not going to say victimized, but that his character was being assassinated totally and completely. And like I said, this is not the time to go into any of all of that. But we made a resolve that we would stick with each other and that we wouldn't turn against or on each other. And we kept that going. We kept that for 4.5 years. In fact, going to see him became my place of refuge, if anybody can believe that. That became my solace to just once a week, 6 hours was all I had to see him for 4.5 years. For 4 years. But that became my solace, because we together and separately, we both grew. We both grew. I became a different person. I went into therapy, so I could become a better person to handle everything that was wrong with me. Rachel was in therapy. I had a lot of struggles, a whole lot of struggles about my family situation. Losing Lamar was has been and still is one of the biggest losses in my life. But God has helped me to get through it. One day I might go into depths, really depths, the depths of what I went through. But just being able to just talk about it now, just a little bit talking about it, it does me good. It makes me feel really good, because I went through a lot. And I can't tell anybody anything other than that. I know that a power higher than me, meaning God Himself, got me through this, because otherwise I really don't think I should be here. I think what I went through, anybody else probably, no telling what would have happened to it. Like I said, I didn't have time to focus on me. I'll put it this way. Going through that, with him being in the system, I didn't have time to focus on me. So I didn't take time. It was all about keeping my family together. And it took me years after he got out of the system to just relax and let go and just get back to being me. So that's that. I got through it.
Now, tell us a little bit about being a mother. You've experienced both childbirthing, child loss, and child adoption. And what would you give as some guidance and share some of your experience and give some guidance on those experiences?
Okay, I'm gonna start with adoption first. Ever since I was, I think I was about 11, 12 years old, I used to get this Sunday newspaper, and in the Detroit News, every Sunday they used to have a section in there where they would have a spotlight a child, I think it was called a child weight or something like that, about adoption. And I used to tell Mama, I said, when I get old enough, I'm going to adopt a child. I always wanted to adopt a child. Always wanted to adopt a child. And I used to look, every Sunday, I look forward to Daddy bringing in the Detroit News, because it wasn't in the Free Press. We had two newspapers here in Detroit, the News and the Free Press. And Daddy would bring the news in just so I could see that. And it would just be a child and that needed adopted. And I said, if I ever got, when I got a job, whatever, I was going to adopt a child. And at first you had to be married in order to adopt children. And then when they changed it, I think one of the first agencies who started looking at single people to adopt was Lutheran Children's Services. And I actually, when I finally got a really good job, I made inquiries about adopting a child. But they told me I was, what was the reason? There was some reason why I couldn't adopt a child. Something about what was it? It was some reason why they said I couldn't adopt a child. I think it was about I can't remember, but they told me, and I was so disappointed. But I never gave up. I never gave up the idea of adopting a child. Then when I met Rudy and everything, like I told you how our relationship was about the children, and so then I made the inquiry. When he was ready, I never forget. One day I was at work, and he called me and he said, "So what we gonna do?" And we was married. We had been married 2 years, and because we said we're gonna try to be married 2 years before we about children. Either way, biological or adopted. So he called me at work one day and said, "What we gonna do?" And I said, "What we gonna do about what?" He says, "Time." I said, "Time for what?" "Time for children." And I laughed. And he said, "We can either buy one or we have one. It don't matter to me." And I said, "Well, okay." I said, "You don't mind if we adopt first?" And he said, "Nope, it don't matter." So I went back to Lutheran Children's Services, and they then referred me to a brand new agency, it's getting off the ground, Homes for Black Children. And so that's how we go. And usually the process was a really long process, but it wasn't for us. They put us through the process, and we saw one child only, and that child was Lamar. And the first time, and Lamar, when we saw him, and the birth mother, we went to her house, the foster mother, Rudy picked him up, and as soon as Rudy picked him up, Lamar wrapped his arms around Rudy's neck, and I said, "That's it." I said, "He's one." And he was the only child we saw. And she gave us pictures of him. And he had these little sad eyes. He was so sad. I still have the picture. And we asked her, he was so sad. And she went on to tell us that she had been the foster mother in that home with so many children. She had never really nurtured Lamar. Lamar had not been nurtured at home for 6 months. He was 6 months old when we got him. She told us she had never really held him. Only, like just the, you do with nurturing a child. She said she just did the bare necessities that for him. She bathed him, clothed him, fed him, and that was it. But she had never really spent. He didn't know how to respond to like laughing and stuff like that. And she said she had never done that. Not only that, he had never had his hair combed. Never had his hair combed. And when we went to, when they called us shortly after that to pick up Lamar, we picked up Lamar, and Mama looked and she said, "This baby got a head full of hair." And I said, "Mama, how could you see that?" Because Mama was the one who went with me. Lamar, the first person after me that he saw, not Rudy, he saw Mama. And that's why Mama got so attached to Lamar, because she went with me when we went to pick Lamar up. And that very day, Mama bought it. We came back to the house on Melrose, and Mama sat there and she said, "I'm going to comb this baby's hair, the first thing I'm going to do." And sure enough, Mama combed Lamar's hair, and Lamar had hair out to here. But when you see the picture that we got, his hair was like he had almost like as the old school call it a quo vada. So you think he didn't have no hair, and he did. He had a head full of beautiful, beautiful hair, and but he had half what the babies call cradle cap, and he kept crying and crying, and Mama kept soothing him, and she combed it out, and then she braided his hair. And so, and that's my journey began with Lamar. Now, I had a difficult time separating the fact that I was not his biological mother and that I was his adopted mother. And it took me, I was told that I should have told him when he was much, much younger that he was adopted, and I couldn't do it. It wasn't about shame. It was just that it meant something that I'd have to face the fact that I wasn't his biological mother. And so I didn't tell him until he was 8 years old. We had him for 6 months and 8, and then at 8 years old is when we told him he was adopted. And things started happening after that. And that's a whole nother story. But being his mother has never been hard for me. I loved him. I still love him. Still want to be his mother. But the circumstances of us losing him and all like that was most definitely difficult. We had a plan of how we were going to get him back. But due to whatever, like I said, that's a whole nother story. We weren't able to do that because individuals got involved that shouldn't have gotten involved and thwarted our plans. We had a plan worked out through our attorney of how we were going to get Lamar back, but it didn't work out that way for us. And so it caused a series of problems and issues on both our parts. And I mean, this is after Lamar got removed from our house and Rudy was put in, it was incarcerated because of they didn't, here's the thing, they didn't charge him with child abuse, but they charged him with that he was trying to literally harm Lamar, which was a big lie. It was a total big lie. And so that was difficult. But as far as being Lamar's mother, as far as I'm concerned, he's still my son. He's still my son. I always will be. I don't care what anybody says, what anybody thinks. It doesn't matter. He's my son. The other part now, I move on to, I lost 2 babies. I never grieved for those babies. I never grieved for them, and that don't mean I didn't care. I didn't know how. I just didn't know. I didn't know. I thought that the Christian thing to do was to buck up and just keep it moving, you know. And that's what I did. And I regret to this day that I did not take the time to absolutely grieve my two babies, Christopher Sean and Eric Grant. I regret that I did not, because they were human beings. I felt them moving inside of me, so I know that they were babies. They were 4.5 months and 5.5 months that I lost them. And I regret that I didn't grieve them. I often think and wonder what they would have been like. But then God blessed me with Rachel. And that's a funny story too, because I didn't even know I was pregnant with Rachel when I had, that time I didn't even know. I had no clue that I was pregnant, because my pregnancies, I was always definitely ill, very ill. When I got pregnant with Rachel, I had no sickness whatsoever, none. I lost weight and everything, and so, I went in for my regular, I had the last pregnancy, they wanted to run some tests on me to find out what was wrong. So they still couldn't find out what was wrong. And the doctor just said, well, we'll keep a watch on you. And so I had a scheduled 5 months examination to come back in. And so when I went in for that regular examination, we had it was all set up and everything. That's when the doctor told me, you're pregnant. And I almost fell off the table. I said, what? I said, what? And she says, yes, you're pregnant. You're almost 5 months pregnant. So I got pregnant right immediately after I had lost this last baby. Had no clue. And I was like, doctor, are you sure? And she said, yeah, my doctor was Chinese. You pregnant? And I said, what? I said, no, I don't believe this. And she came and she did an examination, and at that point she told me, she says, yes. And she says, if we can get you to your 7th month, we're going to take the baby. She said, because I was scared. I had gotten scared. I was going like, oh Lord, here we go again. And wouldn't you know it, Rachel was supposed to have been born in June. And wouldn't you know it, 7 months, almost to the day, that little girl decided that she wanted to come here. That day, I just had to have some old crazy White Castles. And Rudy went and got me some White Castles. Mama came to the house. And when Mama came to the house, and she said, you look like you don't feel good. And I said, yeah. And I said, I've had these little pains. I said, but I think I'm okay. And Mama touched my stomach and said, you're in labor. And I said, no. She said, yeah, you're in labor. And she said, let me get Lamar's clothes together, and I'm going to take him home with me, because you and
yeah, Mama knew. She had that old.
Oh, yeah. Look, she
had the old.
She done birthed 11 children. So she touched my stomach. She said, no, you're in labor. She said, call your doctor. Let your doctor know you're in labor. She said, now I'm going to get Lamar's clothes, and I'm taking him home with me. And she did. She took Lamar home with her. And I called my doctor, and the doctor told me and told Rudy to be timing my contractions and stuff like that. So they were, the contractions was, we stayed there. This was like about 5 that evening. And then the doctor, I kept calling, and then I told Rudy, I said, I think we better get on up out here. But I still stayed home for about another 5 hours. And so we got, but I wasn't in hard labor. And so we get to the back door of the emergency, and my pain hit me, and Rudy hollered, don't be having this baby out here, because I fell across the car. He said, why are we having this baby out here? And I said, I probably ain't gonna have a baby. We got in there, and they got me all prepped and everything. And yes, the Lord blessed me with Rachel. And she came here 7 months, but then they came in looking all sad, and she wasn't, because she was 7 months at that time. Technology didn't move further now, and they told me this was gonna happen, blah blah blah. She was gonna be developing really slow. She was gonna be this. She did have jaundice and all like that, but ain't nothing been slow about that child at all. In fact, they assigned 2 pediatricians they were so amazed at her development, and I was going like, like, hey, this God baby here, and there was nothing wrong with Rachel Leah, nothing at all wrong. I've always been in amazement at her because she started and literally speaking words. I got it wrote down in her baby book. She was about 4 months old. Rachel started talking. I knew then I was in trouble. This girl here is something else. I said, she's something else. And she was
so
old soul. Rachel is an old soul, and she also has been the joy of my life. Just watching her develop, never really gave us real, real problems. She, I'm saying no perfect kid or anything, but I'm saying she's always been such a blessing. She's just a blessing in my life. I'm glad God assigned me to be her mother. I'll put it that way, because she has been a joy. She's been a counselor to me. She's been a friend to me. She's been just watching her develop, and like watching her even now. She's an excellent mother. That's why my advice to those who want to be mothers is like, first of all, you got to want to be a mother. You got to want to be a mother. And once again, like I said previously, get the village mothers around you. Watch and observe how they parent, how they move and do with their children, and glean from what you observe, and decide whether or not you want to incorporate that into your style of parenting. Make time for yourself as a mother. Do not live your whole life just for your children. I call it having a parallel life. Being a mother, a parallel life, meaning have a plan for when those little crumb snatchers grow up. That's what your plan should be, is to raise them in the way they should go, and then let them go. And then when you do let them go, you got a life for yourself that you don't have to sit back and say, ooh, what am I going to do now, my kid? No. A parallel life means to be steadily developing yourself, and right along with your children. Keep your dreams and stuff that you had, and it'll make, and like, no two, every woman isn't meant to be a mother. And it's nothing wrong with that, because it's God who opens the womb. And if he wants you to be a mother, whether it's by biology or you adopt, that's left up to God. But I also say, enjoy the ride. And you're going to have high moments, you're going to have low moments. You're going to have moments when you wish you could just put them in a paper bag and float them on the river. Then there's going to be times when you just wish you could preserve them and protect them and keep them from this crazy world we got out here. But I'm saying, enjoy them. Enjoy your children. Have the funny moments, the sad moments, and just be there. And first and foremost, learn how to let them go. Let them go. When it's time for them to leave the nest, let them go. It'll make for a better grown-up relationship with you if you let them go. When you sense they're ready to really let go and go, let them go. Let them go. It's going to be all right.
Okay. One last question. Who is God, and what is the message of God through you in your life?
Hey, God, my perception of God is that he is the ruler, maker, owner of this whole realm. Meaning all of the galaxies, all of the black holes, all of the everything. That's who my perception of God is, because I believe that God is a supreme being that causes the order in this universe that we know of. And what he is to me is faithful, merciful, kind, always forgiving, always wanting to bless, He's not, I don't look at him as being a vengeful God. He avenges. I believe he avenges. Vengeance is when somebody, I feel like when you really step over the line. But as far as, to me, when I feel like I've been wronged and really wronged and I want to get revenge, God tells me, no, I will avenge you. So I could say he's my avenger. He is just the Father, Abba Father. He's the Father. God is a spirit, and I know that. I've never seen him, but I feel him. I can't. It's kind of hard to explain, but you know that he directs my path. All of that. He's Jehovah Jireh, my provider. He's the banner over me, my protector. He's Jehovah Nisi, Jehovah Rapha, my healer. All of that's my perception of who God is. I don't look at God as a person like I am a human being. He's just that. It's something I can't explain. I can't explain who God is, but I just believe that God is real. I believe Jesus is real. It's too much, too many facts that's been out there that you can actually put your hands on to prove that God exists and that Jesus existed as a human being on this earth, being Jesus God, God Jesus, whichever way you want to put it, that he existed. So I choose to believe. I choose to believe. Now, like I said, if somebody's going to nail me down and say, I can't. I just know it. I just know it. I just know it.
Playing for us.
I'm going to play my favorite song, Great Is Thy Faithfulness. And this was also one of Mama's favorite songs. She used to ask me to play this for her all the time. Great Is Thy Faithfulness.
Amen. And let me ask you, are there any final things in this production that you want to share as far as just anything, you know?
Well, I would just say, remember that family is all you got. Good, bad, and the ugly. And learn how to deal with it. Deal with it. I mean, it ain't no perfect world. Ain't none of us perfect or anything. And just love unconditionally. That's a process, and that's something I'm working on, learning how to love unconditionally, because I'm telling you, I do have conditions. But other than that, I say just enjoy life, and live on purpose.
All right.